This week on the Baseline Podcast, we discuss, everything and anything football as we preview the big game of Ohio State versus Oregon. We also preview the Cleveland Browns versus the Kansas City Chiefs this weekend and all the ins and outs of both games and so much more coming up on the Baseline Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Baseline Podcast, where we cover all the angles, or we try to cover all the angles and talk a little sports along the way. And hopefully you will gain some knowledge or maybe gain an opinion that's different from mine. But anyways, I'm so glad you're here. My name is Ben, and I am so happy that, this week's half over, at least when I'm recording this. It might be closer to being over when you listen to this, but hope you had an amazing day. I hope you had an amazing week. I know college football was back last week, which was kind of cool, actually. I was on a short honeymoon / doing some other things, so I didn't really get a chance to see the game, the Ohio State game, which I'll talk about today. But I was able to catch some clips of different games, and it's just been an amazing week of football. And the NFL's back this week, so we have a lot to talk about in today's episode. But before we talk about football, because it's more of like a football podcast, not podcast, sports podcast, but this is more of a football episode this week. I just wanted to state that the Reds are starting to suck again. I know they're just, after last night, they're tied for the wild card spot, but I mean, they've just went to the tank, which is starting to prove my dad right, which he sent me an email simply titled "The Reds Suck." So hopefully we'll talk about them next week, and it's a good thing, but we shall see. Another thing that will be happening possibly, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Obviously, this is a sports podcast, so I want to talk about sports all along the board, all across the board, I should say. As you know, I have another podcast, which has kind of been dead because of traveling and stuff. But I would really love to spend some, I guess, kind of spend some time talking about football in general, just because it's football season. I'm excited about it. It makes me excited. So what might happen is I might briefly talk, not this episode, but in the future episodes, I might briefly talk about the different games that are happening or different things that are happening in football. But then possibly on my YouTube channel, which if you're watching this, then you are on my YouTube channel, I'll be releasing like, football preview for the week. I don't know yet. I mean, maybe I'll just keep it what I'm doing now, where, certain episodes are primarily focused on some sports. But like I said, it's, for me, the Baseline Podcast is really meant to be about the baseline of all sports, not just one. So I'm playing around with it. We'll see what happens. But anyways, I'm so glad you're here. And we are talking about football, like I've stated 1,000 times already in this episode, which I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself. We're talking about Ohio State versus Oregon. We're previewing that game. And then we are going to then preview the NFL game, or the team that I follow, the Browns versus the Chiefs. And by the end, actually, I'm going to give you a game of the week outside of these two games that I have my eyes on, that I think will be a very good indicator of certain things in certain cases, both in college football and in the NFL. So let's first preview the Ohio State versus Oregon game. Now, like I stated in the opening, I was on a mini honeymoon / I might have also forgot to set my alarm, and I woke up and I realized I missed the whole game of the Minnesota Ohio State game, which I was very disappointed. My wife, Rebecca, can tell you that, because I woke up kind of frustrated at myself at 5 a.m. when she's probably half asleep. But that's besides the point. I did get to catch the game, though. Luckily, I was able to rewatch the whole game. I was able to check in to see how Ohio State played. As many of you know, if you've watched the game, Ohio State it's like the defense is still the same, which scares me as a Ohio State fan, which I'll get into the kind of about the Oregon game in general. But the one thing I did notice from that game was just lack of experience, obviously, on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, they played well. They played hard. Ryan Day said that in his post games, post conference. I mean, post game press conference. There we go. I mean, they played hard, but it showed again the struggles on the defensive backs, especially. But I mean, again, I can't completely pull that away just because, they're missing the top two cornerbacks. I mean, you can't really see much. I mean, the freshman guys that were in there, the young guys that haven't played a lot, they did a great job. I think you'll see a different team against Oregon. It's a big game. Not saying Minnesota wasn't a big game. That's a huge conference game, but this is a game that can really be a staple in your resume to prove to the College Football Playoff Committee that, hey, we're here to stay. We're here to play. And, we think about Clemson, who probably just put their nail in their coffin, possibly, in making the College Football Playoff, scoring 3 points, which I never thought I would say a Clemson team scoring 3 points. All credit to Georgia for that. But focusing back on the game, I thought I was very scared as I was watching that game. I saw kind of like the stats and everything, and I saw that we were down at half. So as I was watching, I just realized that, Stroud really struggled. I think some of these guys struggled. The running game was obviously Mayan Williams was just, it's awesome to see a guy his size to break open a run like that. I think the running game helped Stroud at least stay in the game in the first half. The defense also helped out a little bit as well. Not great, but they did. Stroud really struggled, but then to see him in the second half, the way he just threw the ball. And again, when you have a wide receiver core, I mean, you should literally be able to throw for 290 yards every single week. Just throwing it up there, those guys. You got to see Travion Henderson, who I said last week was going to be one of those guys that is going to sneakily, it's not sneaky because he's a 5-star recruit, but he's one of those guys that is not going to start by starting, but he's going to get on the field, and he showed why he is a top five recruit in the country. And now is he at Ohio State, who's probably the best freshman running back I've seen in quite a long time, probably since Maurice Claret. So that's what I noticed from last game. I also noticed that we struggled stopping the run, which also scares me because when you play in the Big Ten, you have some good backs. Obviously, Minnesota losing that guy, it's going to be tough for them. But moving on from kind of what I noticed from last game to previewing this week's game. You have number 3 Ohio State, who moved up in the polls this week, versus, I believe, 12 Oregon. Now, Oregon is one of those teams that I always just am going, Thibodeau, who's their best defensive player, also might be the best player in college football. Defensive end is hurt. I don't know if he's going to play. We'll see. This could change my total prediction then if that changes. But I'll be honest, Oregon's one of those teams that if Ohio State's not careful, can pull an upset in Columbus. Now, again, it's in Columbus, which I think gives Ohio State a little bit of advantage. It's a 12 o'clock kickoff, which also I think gives Ohio State advantage. But my keys this week, I have 3 keys this week to really, honestly, I think these keys can really make or break, Ohio State's game. I think one of the biggest keys for this week is Stroud. I think CJ Stroud has to be the quarterback of the second half. He can't even for half of the first half be the quarterback we saw in the first half. Indecisive, missing throws, the interception. I know it's a big game. He's a freshman or redshirt freshman. He's only played a few games. First passes were attempted last week. But the reason I say that is because I think, people know that the run game is going to be where Ohio State Ryan Day is going to dial up the passing game. I know for sure. But the run game is what's going to help Ohio State, set a tone, set a balance to the game. If you can make the run, obviously it opens up the passing game. And Ohio State is that talented on the offensive line. They can do that. They have great running backs, receivers that, you throw the ball. But if Stroud is not the Stroud we saw in the second half, then that's where I start getting to worry. Because then you put the pressure on the defense, which is my second key. The defense, especially the pass defense, needs to be better. It needs to be a lot better. The reason I say that is because, I'm wearing actually a football shirt. I was a assistant coach for a year at the high school level. And one thing I noticed about high school football is, if you can't stop the pass or stop the run, either one, you're in trouble. If you can't stop both, there goes your game. And I think it's very similar in college. I think you could sometimes survive if you have bad pass defense, like you saw Ohio State last week, or if you just have a an amazing offense that just outscores. But my worry is that the bad pass defense, it just doesn't help Ohio State in any way, because then you open up also for a run game to be possibly there for Oregon. Now, I know Oregon has been one of those teams in the past that's kind of inconsistent when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. But, it's a top 12 team. They're going to come ready to play. They're going to play well. They're going to pass. They know they can pass if Ohio State doesn't have, the two top corners, if they don't have Cameron Brown, if they don't have, I'm blanking now. Yes, the other cornerback who's going to be a top 20 pick. But anyways, they don't have those two guys. Then that's when I start getting worried. Obviously, the pass defense scares me a lot because it hasn't really been figured out since last year, it seems like. So that's kind of my second key. And then my third key is winning the turnover battle. We saw last week, Haskell the Rascal, as Gus Johnson called him, taking it in for 6. Harrison obviously strip sack, a couple other plays here and there. You force more turnovers than the other team, you have a very, very good chance of winning. If Ohio State forces Oregon, let's say into 2 turnovers, and you turn one of those into points, you're up there in the chance of winning that game. I think Ohio State wins the turnover battle and they don't turn the ball over, I see, Ohio State walking out here with a victory. Part of me is hesitant to put the prediction score out there because that always tends to bite me. But, I personally believe that Ohio State's defense is going to wake up this week. I think you're going to see a team that of course is hearing the critics, hearing people say that, this defense is the same from last year, hearing me say that. They're not listening to me, but hearing me say that, people like me, I think they're going to wake up. I think they're going to stop Oregon for the most part. I think they're going to give up yards, but I think they're going to hold them. My prediction is Ohio State 38, Oregon 14. Some people might be saying Ohio State only 38 points. I think you got to give credit to Oregon's defense. You got the best pass rusher in the nation. If he plays, if he doesn't play, maybe you add more points, but they do have 2 top cornerbacks that are pretty good. We'll see. And maybe I'm completely wrong, but I still think it's going to be a 20-point win for Ohio State. I don't think Oregon can keep up with the offense of Ohio State. Even if let's say it's 38 to 28. I don't see how Oregon can consistently keep up every drive with Ohio State. Ohio State showed last week in the second half, they can do big play after big play after big play after big play. If that's the team that Oregon faced, the second half Ohio State team, this could easily be a 56-63 to 22 game. Like, I'm not kidding you when I say that. I know people are going to call me crazy, but I'm calling it now. If Ohio State can have the second half that they did against Minnesota, you could see 50 plus points put up on the board. I believe that. So I'm interested to see what happens. I don't know. We'll see. I also put my predictions for player of the games. My offensive player of the game or players of the game, my offensive player of the game will be Miyan Williams or running backs. I think running backs will set the tone for Ohio State. Like I said earlier, I think Miyan Williams can have another big game. You have Master Teague, Crowley, Travion Henderson. I think, man, if this team is so loaded on the offensive side of the ball, they should win every game by 20 plus points if their defense plays well. My defensive player of the game is just honestly the DBs. I think if the DBs have a game half as good as what they did, against Minnesota. I mean, they didn't have a terrible game, but just a game that's more consistent, can keep them under, 250 yards passing, get a turnover here or there. I think that's where you can see Ohio State take advantage, and that could be, a player of the game or players of the game in a sense. Special teams. I think it's going to be the punt unit. I don't want them to punt a lot. I don't want Ohio State to punt a lot, but if they do, we all know that, change of possession is big, but then location, where are you starting are you starting inside the 20 or are you starting at the other team's, 48-yard line, So I think that's going to be a huge key for this game. And so those are my predictions. Those are my thoughts. please let me know below. Do you hate them? Do you love them? Or do you just think I'm crazy? Either way, I'd love to hear your thoughts below in the comments. But that is my prediction, my preview of the Ohio State-Oregon game. And we're going to shift from the college football landscape to the NFL, where we're going to see, well, what I think the Browns can do this week that probably many people cannot see them do this week, coming up next. So we go, like I said, from college to NFL right now. So we're going to talk about the NFL this week. It's the Browns. That's my team. We're also going to talk about some other games at the end. I know I mentioned that I would talk about the games I'm most looking forward to in college football outside the Ohio State game. I kind of forgot. I took a little break, so we'll get back to that at the end of the episode. But anyways, the Browns versus the Chiefs. Because the Browns are my team, I should have worn my Nick Chubb jersey, but I didn't because, well, I forgot. It's in the closet. But hopefully I'll be wearing it on Sunday because I think it's at 10 o'clock my time. So I think I'll watch a little bit of it before I go to bed on Sunday. But anyways, let's preview that game. Let's preview the Browns versus the Chiefs. What are my thoughts? What are my opinions? Just like I did with Ohio State, we're going to do this with the Browns. I have a few keys as well. I mean, obviously, I don't have like the last game to look at. I mean, they had preseason, but honestly, no one really played significant time. What I do know is that there's a few guys healthy for the opener. Greedy Williams is going to be back as a corner option. Delpit is going to finally play in the Browns uniform out there in safety / the linebacker the nickel position. Then you're also going to have, I believe, Higgins is playing. Yeah, we're pretty much, Beckham's going to be there, which I'm excited to see. Is it going to be a good thing, a bad thing for Mayfield? We'll get to that in a second too. But I'm interested to see your thoughts on the Browns this year. I know there's a lot of people that are, if you're not from Cleveland, you might not like the Browns. I work with two people that are Ravens fans. Yeah, Mike and Josh. Yeah, that's going to be a fun year. But in all seriousness, the Browns are an interesting team. A lot of people have mixed opinions. I've kind of told you what I think. I think they can make a run for the Super Bowl. Do I think they'll make it there? We'll see. But the keys for a Browns win, there's 4 of them. I have 4 keys, and they're simply this. I think the first one is simply, has the defense improved? They've talked about all offseason. They've got some guys. They got Clowney. They got, I think, Walker at middle linebacker. They got, Hill and Johnson in the backside and the DBs. They talk a lot of big game, right? The question is, has it improved? The defense is what really killed the Browns last year. It's like the Ohio State in a similar thing where they would have good games and then bad games. And it's like, what's happening? So I'm interested to see. We'll see what happens. I do believe the Browns defense has improved. I think with Clowney on the other side of Garrett, I think you have a tandem that could do some damage up front. I wish they would have strengthened defensive tackle, but we'll see what happens. And again, the DBs, you added some. Is that going to be enough? Is Ward going to stay healthy? Is Greedy Williams going to stay healthy? Is Newsome, the rookie, is he the answer on the outside? We'll see what happens. If the defense plays well, if they could find a way, which I'll talk about a little bit, to stop Mahomes, or slow him down, you can't really stop him, then I think you have a chance for a Browns win. Now, on the other side of the ball, these are my thoughts on kind of the offense and what I'm seeing, kind of what I've been thinking, is this going to be the Baker that we saw last year? Is this the Baker after Odell got hurt, right? The big storyline is Odell's coming back. Is that going to hurt Baker, or is that going to make Baker better? I am very skeptical. I love Odell. I love his athleticism, what he can bring the team. I want to believe that this is going to work out. I want to believe that Baker is going to be last year's Baker after Odell with Odell, if that makes sense. But I just don't know. It's so hard for me to sit here and go, Baker is going to be better with Odell on the field. But like I said, I think this could be a big year for Baker. I think this is really a defining year for Baker. Do the Browns extend him, or you keep franchise tagging him? So my gut feeling is saying that Baker is going to do well with Odell, but I would not be shocked if during the year Odell gets traded. I wouldn't at all, because I think if you get away from what Baker was at the end of the year and you start going back to what he was before Odell got hurt, why not go back to what you were doing best? Why not hand the ball off to Chubb 20 times, give it to Hunt 10 times, only throw 15 to 25 passes? You don't have to win on Baker's arm. And that's what I've been trying to tell people is like, you don't have to win on his arm. You can win on the back of Chubb, that offensive line. You can win off of even Hunt if Chubb gets hurt for some reason. You have one of the best running backs in the NFL, the best running back tandem in the NFL. Don't put it all on Baker's shoulders. Let Baker be Baker and make the throws he needs to. So that kind of runs into the next thing. Can the run game still be the same? I mean, the offensive line is going to be good, like they seem to be the last few years. I don't see why Chubb will be any different or Kareem Hunt will be any different. I think if the Browns can establish the run this year, this team and Baker can be the Baker that I was talking about. This is why the Browns team can run to have a chance to run to the Super Bowl. This team can average 30 points, and I don't doubt it. The question is, does the defense get stops, and can they establish the run to then lead up to that pass? The play action passes was what really helped Baker, I think, last year, and rolling him out and getting him into his comfort zone, I think really made a difference. So I'm interested to see, what happens, what can be the difference. Can we establish the run? That can make a huge reason why Baker is going to be Baker or he will not be Baker. And then finally, my last point, I mentioned it earlier with the defense. Can we stop or slow down Mahomes? Obviously, you can't really stop Mahomes. Mahomes is going to get his yards. I think there has to be a way to contain. I mean, force them to run the ball. Prove that they can run the ball. Then you got to really, you have a big deal with. Can you contain, contain Hill? Can you contain Kelsey? Can you contain these guys? And if you can, you have a chance to win. This is why I'm very concerned that the Browns might lose this game. Now, I don't believe that the Browns lose this game, their season's over, everyone gets downcast. I think it's you lost to the Chiefs, a very good team, a team that won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Like, I don't want Browns fans to get so discouraged if they don't win this game. Now, my prediction is going to say otherwise, but I think even if the Browns lose this game, they still can go 13-4, 12-5 this year. I really do. I think they can run the table. I've said that over and over again. I'll continue to say that. But I don't want to be like, yeah, Browns are going to win. But my prediction is that the Browns will win. I think the Browns will win 24-21. And it's shocking because I've talked about both high-powered offenses, and I'm talking about a low-scoring game. I think the Browns are going to try to run the ball. I think run the ball a lot. Eat the clock. The best way to keep Mahomes off the field is by just keeping the ball. And I think you'll see that a lot. I think that's going to be the challenge is how do you manage the time, manage that kind of stuff to keep him off the field. I think at the end of the day, I think Baker throws for about 200 yards, but I really think you'll see Chubb. My prediction, Chubb breaks 100 yards rushing. Hunt has a great game. I think the defense doesn't do a great job, but contains what needs to be contained. And so I'm hoping for a Browns win this week. We'll see. I know I have a lot of friends that are kind of poking fun saying that the Browns will, have a terrible season. Hey, I'm used to as a Browns fan. In 2 years, we went 1-32 or 1-31. So I'm used to it. It's not new for me. But I'm prepared for the Browns to be back to where they were last year and even a little bit better. I really believe that they can get there. They just have to take that time to really do that. And yeah, that's the Browns team that I hope will be there, and I think will be there to Sunday night as they play. Or it's not Sunday night. For me, it's Sunday night, Sunday afternoon as they play the Chiefs. So there it is. that's the Browns preview. That's what I think is going to happen this week. Hopefully you agree. Maybe you disagree. And go ahead and leave your comments below. Do you think the Browns win? Do you think Baker is going to be Baker before Odell or after Odell? Love to hear your thoughts. And as we finish up this episode, we're going to move into my picks of the week for this week in both college football and the NFL right now. So these are my picks of the week, and I'm super excited because I think I picked a really good one for college football. As an Ohio State fan, as someone who watches the Big Ten quite frequently, as someone who also loves the old rivalry with the Big 12 and how some people, certain friends of mine, think the Big 12 is a very good conference. Well, we'll see about that. But anyways, I have the in-state rivalry of Iowa State as my pick of the week. Iowa State is very good. They're ranked 9th. Iowa's ranked 10th. This is a test for Iowa to prove that they are the team. They are another team to beat in the Big Ten. You know, we always talk about Wisconsin, Ohio State, Penn State. Iowa's always in there, but are they really? That's my pick of the week. I think it's a great game to watch. It's on, I believe, is it ABC? It's on ABC. So if you're watching, check it out on ABC. I hope to maybe check that game out a little bit. We'll see. It's kind of late, but I'm super excited. We'll see what happens. My prediction for this game is I believe Iowa will walk out of there as the winners. I believe it's going to be a score of 34-28. Iowa beating Iowa State, claiming is it called the Cy Hawkeye or something like that trophy? Something like that. It's a weird name. But anyways, that is my pick of the week for college football. Now let's flip it on over to NFL. My pick of the week is just because they won the Super Bowl. Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Dallas Cowboys was actually happening possibly when you're watching this, or maybe the next day, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus Dallas Cowboys. And I love I don't love the Cowboys. Why would I say that? No, I'm the Browns fan. But I do love Zeke Elliott, former Ohio State player. And obviously watching Tom Brady is always just enjoyable to watch in general. So I think it's going to be a great game. I personally believe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers probably won't get back to the Super Bowl. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm super excited. Those are my picks of the week. I didn't give you a prediction. I believe that it will be Tampa Bay, I believe 28, Cowboys 31. I think Tampa Bay goes into Dallas. Dallas gets the win. I hate to say that the Dallas Cowboys are going to win, but that's what I think. Those are my predictions. Let me know what your predictions are below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. If you've loved this episode, make sure you favorite it. Put it on your podcast stream network, wherever you're at. Put it there so that way you can listen to it every single week that it's out, which is usually on Wednesdays, Thursdays, or Fridays, depending on when I release it. It seems to be getting later every week. So I hope you will stay tuned for next week's episode, where we'll be covering, I think, some baseball as well as some football as well. If you love watching this on YouTube, go ahead and click that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and that will let me know and remind you, but it'll let me know that you've loved this episode, you've loved this video, and the podcast in general. And then it'll also keep you notified when you subscribe that all the new videos that'll be coming out. Hopefully do some recaps and stuff like that are on the way, some wedding videos, who knows. So I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. Thank you again. Your support is, I can never say thank you enough for the support you've given me in this platform that I have. So once again, I just want to say thank you, and we'll see you next time.